Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Church Leadership Lab, where our goal is to have conversations that empower healthy churches. We hope that this episode finds you well as you drive or on the treadmill or whatever you may be doing. We are your hosts, Scott and Casey. There we go.
That was really just like comprehensive and like, there we are.
Yeah. It's a statement of fact.
I would like to know who is making podcasts to empower healthy hosts. Where's that podcast? There's
an untapped market because I'd be listening. What if it was like, have you ever seen those exercise videos? I don't know. There's like, it's called Channel 11. It's like public access television.
Ooh, okay.
But they like, at 2:30 in the afternoon, there's like chair yoga. Where it's or like chair workouts, you know what I mean? Yeah. For folks who may like just
be at home.
That's the soft step, right? They got to sit in the chair, get the dumbbells or, whatever's going on. What if the podcast that empower healthy hosts is like exercises to do while you're hosting a podcast to stay healthy?
I now think that in all of our free time, we need to make that.
Yeah.
And I feel like it would start out as a parody, but what if it was the best thing ever?
I know. Like, here's how to keep like good circulation, or here's something you can do to keep your like brain focus. You know what I mean?
It'd be nice. I'm being very serious. A lot of podcasts are audio only. Yep. Ours, if you're only listening, we also video. So you have to look at, you don't have to. Some of you aren't, but some of you have to look at our faces. You know what's harder than it seems? Is not looking angry or bored or disinterested or distracted. Even if you are so engaged, I've watched myself back on video and go, what is wrong with my face?
I know. That's the thing. Like, it's not often that you get a snapshot of like your entire face for 45 minutes. Through a conversation.
Yeah.
And so it's just something I know for me, like I've never really been aware. Yeah. And I saw it and I was like,
it's a humbling experience. That's all I'm going to say.
I was not angry, but yet I look pretty angry. I don't understand.
Really disinterested. Like, man, I have got some work to do on myself.
Yeah. So if you've seen any clips or watched any of these on YouTube and you're like, why is Scott so mad all the time? I'm not. I'm having a great time.
He's a very nice guy.
I love these conversations. Phenomenal. Just got to work on my face a little bit.
So maybe that's what the podcast for podcasters can be, is how not to look like a jerk when you know you aren't.
Yeah. How to look happier when you podcast. I have a listen.
There's a market for this, my friend. I'm going to find it.
Yeah. Well, we got to have some conversations in person at a conference as of late. Not as of late. That's not the way I should have said that.
Recently?
That's the one.
That's the one.
We got to have some conversations in person recently with some folks, and we were excited to bring these conversations to you. One of them was with Jeremiah Herrian from Forgotten Ministries. He's actually the director along with his wife, Sarah. And now Jeremiah was raised on a farm near Bison, Oklahoma, and moved to California after high school to pursue a career in professional volleyball. And then eventually he got involved with missions and just had a life-altering encounter on Skid Row in LA. And this led him to dedicate his life to serving in ministry, eventually founding Forgotten Ministries with his wife, Sarah. And right now, Forgotten Ministries consists of an emergency homeless shelter, men and women transitional housing, weekly programs for kids, mission trips, and extensive community outreach opportunities, including something really cool with a grill that we're not going to spoil, but that you can hear about. Nope. And Casey, I don't know about you, but I just love Jeremiah's heart for getting outside of, the walls of the church and getting into the community.
Dude, Jeremiah is one dude that does not have to worry about his face not looking happy. Like and I mean that, like you meet a couple people, there's like Bob Goff and Jeremiah, who are just like perpetually full of energy that you're like, I want to be around that dude as much as possible. I'm so thankful that we met him. Don't want to say anything about the cool stuff they do, but I think you and I both joked throughout that week of like, can we just go with him Like wherever he's going, can we just go be a part of that? Because it is so pure and real and actually impactful. Not that everything else isn't, but it's in such a tangible way, a really hands and feet of Jesus in the community kind of way. That's like, man, more of that, please.
Yeah. Well, and what's interesting is a lot of the conversations too that I had with people at this conference around what's going well in ministry. What are you trying to do? What are you working on? A lot of it had to do with what Forgotten Ministries is doing, which is, and how do we actually get into our community, build relationships, get to know people, meet tangible needs. So I think what it was hearing, oh, you guys are
they're doing that.
Doing a great job with this and helping churches to get better at this. So I remember feeling the same way. And it was a great conversation. And so
selfishly, they are not right around the corner, but they're on the other side of my little state. So I can go visit them. And I'm going to go visit their coffee shop, and they gave me coffee and I have consumed it. They're so good. I love them.
See, that's awesome. I didn't get any coffee. So
what?
I guess you were the favorite host of yours, which is fine.
I wasn't going to say it, but you did. So
it's totally fine. I accept it. Well, we enjoyed our conversation with Jeremiah and hearing more and more about what Forgotten Ministries is doing. And we hope you do as well. Well, hey, everybody, we are here at the SBC annual meeting. We are getting to have conversations with people doing really cool things, and we're bringing one of those to you right now. We have Jeremiah with Forgotten Ministries, and we're super excited to just have a conversation around what does it look like to reach your community and not reach your community maybe in a way that says, hey, come to us, but we're actually going to go to you. So before we jump into that, would you just give us a little bit of your bio, a little bit of what Forgotten Ministries is doing?
Right, yeah. So I kind of have maybe a testimony similar to a lot of people that come through the Midwest. You know, I grew up in a small town, rural town, ended up going to college, was a professional volleyball player. That's actually what took me out to Los Angeles.
Oh, cool.
And so I ended up in Los Angeles for about 8 years. Grew up in the church, was baptized 3 or 4 times, rededicated probably 10 times. I don't even know. I mean, it was, kind of that story.
You walked down the aisle a couple times.
Right, yeah. I mean, so, but for me, it was a lot of religion. And that religion, as I went through life, it really took me into drinking, into partying, and really into a very destructive lifestyle. And, I kind of what changed for me was I had met a group of people on a trip down into Mexico that were doing some mission stuff, and they were talking about just their life. And it wasn't the typical, hey, they were dressing up for church on Sunday and going to youth group on Wednesday. Like, they were living in a way that was like, I'm like, dude, these guys are like cultish. It's weird. Yeah. Homeless areas, and they're serving and giving and sacrificing. And I was just, curiosity got the best of me. Yeah. So I was like, they invited me to Skid Row, which was in downtown Los Angeles. And Skid Row is in every metropolitan area. And really why they call this area in these areas, they call it Skid Row, is people that go into this area are skidding to death. They literally are going to this area to die. Wow. And so Los Angeles has the worst Skid Row in the United States. There's 10,000 homeless in a 4-block radius. Wow. They give out free needles down there to prevent the spread of AIDS. Wow. And they give out over 36,000 needles a month in this area. So you got, ladies that are prostituting themselves for 50 cents out of a porta potty. You got gangs, you got stabbings and shootings, and it's right in your face. It's not hidden. And so when I went down there with this group of people, I was like, what in the, it was insane that this existed in America, right? Yeah. And so, I'm coming from like being in the church walls to thinking like I'm safe and I can have my little Jesus on Sunday, to like these people are like out here serving, hands and feet, loving these people. Yeah. And I'm like blown away, right? And so something that happened during that trip that really got my attention was this couple wanted to go pray with people. And I just was like, okay, why would we do that? Like, let's keep our table up where our sandwiches are like our barrier. Yeah. But they like went down and they started to pray with people. And we walked up on this guy that you could smell from 30 foot away. Hadn't taken a shower in months. Wow. And as we got closer, I realized this guy had maggots all over him. Wow. And what this couple did next changed my life. They got down on their hands and knees in this pile of feces, and they started to brush the maggots off this guy. And they started to remind this guy that Jesus hadn't forsaken him and that he loved him. Wow. And I'm going to tell you, man, at that moment, I realized for the first time that I had nothing inside of me that they had in them. And everything that was in me was about me. It was about religion. It was about what I could get, what I could gain. And I realized that those people had the real deal. I mean, that's what would compel them to love that guy like that. That dude was a homeless guy that I thought needed to get a job. Yeah. And these people are willing to lay their life down. And so for me, man, I went home and I was tore up. I was wrecked, right? And so a year later, fast forward, I married one of those girls because I was like, I want that girl, right? And I married her. We sold everything we had, and we started to serve on Skid Row 6 days a week for about 2.5 years. And I love it when people say, hey, I'm not qualified or I don't have that gift. I'm going to tell you, I was the least qualified person in the face of the earth to do a ministry in Skid Row. But, God sent us to the needs, and it was overwhelming. Yeah. And I just remember God reminding me, they don't need you, they needed him. Yeah. And I was just kind of in between to help connect them back to Jesus. Yeah. So
that's awesome. Wow. Now, I know that experience has kind of led to what you're doing now with Forgotten Ministries. And so can you give us a little bit of idea of what you're doing, but then also, because my goal is, as church leaders are listening as pastors, is that it's starting to maybe spark some ideas as well. Totally. Yeah, right on. What they can do to kind of engage and reach the community.
Yeah, when the Skid Row was really a training ground for me. And I remember at one point when I was early and reading the scriptures for the first time, like I couldn't figure out why I was driving by 500 churches on the way to Skid Row, but the churches weren't connecting with Skid Row. I'm like, this is obviously a mission field, right? Right. And I think I went through several different things at that time, of maybe some anger and frustration. But through a long story, God really broke my heart for the church, and he really challenged me. Well, why will you love the prostitute, the drug dealer, or the pimp, or whatever that is, but you won't love my church? And I remember at that moment, everything changed for me and my wife, and it really became, hey, how do we help bring, encourage, challenge the church to take that first step into an area that's obviously needs Jesus, but it's scary. Yeah. I mean, sometimes that first step is really not knowing what to do or how to do it. And so for the next year, we ended up working with over 1,000 churches in Skid Row. And really, actually, when I thought we would probably die at some point in Los Angeles, God brought us back to Oklahoma. And, I had no intentions to ever coming back to Oklahoma, especially the town I'm in, Enid, Oklahoma. But while we were back there, I started knocking on some doors. And we're talking Bible Belt. Our town has 50,000 people, 162 churches. And as we knocked on doors in this community, I'm starting to realize, oh my goodness, dude, there's like literally a Skid Row behind the closed door. Wow. Yeah. We got the same sexual addiction, same drugs, same alcohol, the same brokenness, same people that know Jesus. Yeah. And I'm like, how is this even possible in the LA, it can maybe out there, but the Bible Belt? Sure. And so the ideal of Forgotten Ministries came about at that moment where we knew we had to mobilize the church. The church has to step out of its four walls into their community. Because if we do nothing, well, then Skid Rows will come. Sure. And so if the church has the only thing that has the answers to help deter or to combat what's going on behind closed doors to make sure that the Skid Row doesn't come. Yeah. So, the first idea for us was Forgotten Ministries was, well, what does the church do really good? Well, they can preach the gospel and they can worship. They do that every week. Right. So what if we took a bus, chopped it all up, we could open the side of it, we could drive it literally into any neighborhood, and we could do worship and sharing the gospel. That was simple, right? Yeah. And so that began the journey of the last 15 years where we've taken U-Haul trucks and made them into mobile clothes trucks, to FedEx trucks and made them into mobile food pantries, to construction trailers and food wagons and snow cones. And really, Paul says to become all things to all people. So we became all things to the community. Yeah. And when we seen a need, I was like, hey, let's fill it. Let's find a way to fill it. Yeah. And so the mobile aspect of Forgotten is constantly grown. And what we do more of is a permanent tool for churches that are local. We've built coffee shops and roasting companies. We've built transitional housing for men and women. We have community gardens. We have homeless shelters, and we have different kids programs and stuff. But all of those are ongoing ministries that we're able to equip and allow the churches within Enid to serve at. Yeah. But really the heartbeat behind the ministry is still to constantly try to mobilize the church. That's awesome.
I love even just the literal description of Forgotten, I think this is perfect, is redefining the traditional concept of church, which is a building, right? You go to a traditional church. and the forgotten by taking a hands-on approach.
Absolutely.
So you just named all these extremely practical daily needs that don't take place in the building, in those four walls, but they're outside in your community, and mobilizing that.
Absolutely. Yeah, the church culture has to change. I mean, the American church is at a crossroads.
Yeah.
The model of, hey, come to us. It's not working no more. And we have got to adjust or just go back to Scripture. And Jesus was pretty simple. Go, right? Yeah. He told us to go.
Yeah, it's pretty short.
So when we don't go, guess what happens? Well, the world is going through what it's going through. And so I think the church has got to come back to that simple, just go, take the gospel, be the hands and feet of Jesus. And one of the ministries that we have really just went all into is our tailgate ministry.
Yeah, this is so cool.
It's cool, isn't it?
I want a tailgate.
Can you tell us about that?
Yeah. So, obviously, Oklahomans love to eat food, so we use grills.
I'm offended.
Hey, I can confirm Chicago area people love to eat food.
People love food, right?
No, we do. And we tailgate really well. So,
Who doesn't, right?
Yeah.
So, we were working with a church in southern Oklahoma, and we were doing the typical, set up a grill at a park, invite people in, and the pastor was supposed to go out and invite community. And we get down there, and I look around, I'm like, Pastor, hey, did you invite anyone from the community? And he's like, was I supposed to? I'm like, yeah, come on, man.
That's how this works.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, we're not doing another church sermon out in the park, right? So the ideal came, hey, we got a grill. Why don't we pack everything up, throw a bunch of burgers on it, and start walking down the street? And we kind of talked about, I was like, we threw the burgers on and we walked about a block, we probably would need to flip them.
Sure.
So let's stop, flip the burgers, and while we're flipping the burgers, let's send out the team to the houses that were around us and ask them if they want a free hamburger.
Yeah.
And so as we started it and we cooked and we started to ask people if they wanted free burgers, well, they were super jacked, right?
Yeah.
And it wasn't one burger, it was 5 burgers or 10 burgers or 20 burgers.
Yeah.
People were hungry.
Yeah.
And people hadn't eaten in a couple days. But the question that everyone asked us when we went out that first time is, why are you doing this?
Yeah.
And it was an instant conversation starter with, well, let me tell you about Jesus.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like when Jesus sent out the 72 the first time. They went out, they were scared, but they came back, they were super jacked, they're super excited. And that church I worked with, they were scared, they were petrified. They had never maybe even prayed with someone or shared their faith with anyone, but they were coming back and they were like little kids. Oh my gosh, I met Miss Biddy, I got to pray for her, I got this. Yeah. They were excited because they had stepped into, I believe, the purpose in which God created them.
Wow. Now, what I love about that, again, is that idea of going. And sometimes we complicate things.
We're really good at that.
We're really good at that. And there's programs and there's systems and there's budgets and there's buildings and all that stuff. And that's not to say that's bad. It's not to say that God's not using that. But sometimes, like you said, going back to the beginning and simplifying and being like, what if we just went to people?
Oh my goodness.
And so can you help maybe a church leader listening to this?
Yeah.
And they might be hearing this and go, I love this. We're not doing this.
Yeah.
What's some steps they can take to bridge that gap?
Right.
Obviously, maybe they can't swing all the way to starting a brand new ministry, but it's like maybe there's some small steps they could take. What would some of those be?
Yeah, I think at the beginning of it, you just got to find your own community and what's going to work, but you just got to get out and find what the needs are. And, for us, as we started in the beginning, it was simple things of mowing someone's yard to painting someone's house. There was physical needs they're obviously obvious in communities.
Yeah.
And as you start to meet the physical needs, they're going to open the conversation for spiritual needs. We definitely would love for people to come to Enid. They could come to Forgotten Ministries and we could teach them how to do that.
Yeah.
Or maybe even Forgotten Ministries could come out there and help walk beside them to help them. But, I think at the end of the day, the grill, it's something any church can do. Grills are easy to come by. You can take that out. You serve some hot dogs, but they need to go to the door. It shows that you are genuinely concerned. You genuinely care.
Yeah.
We had a church in Meridian we just worked with, Meridian, Mississippi, that had never done it. They went into one of the worst apartment complexes. They were scared to death, but they knew that they had to change what they were doing. They went out there, first grill walk they ever did, 125 salvations. 125 salvations. Wow. That's insane, right? But this is even crazier. 90% of those people that they ministered to came to church that next Sunday. And again, it works, right?
Yeah.
It works. Yeah. But they came not because they were, given a piece of paper and invited to a church.
That's right.
It was because these people took time out of their Sunday or their Saturday or whatever that was. And some of those conversations went for 30 to 40 minutes.
Yeah.
And they got to meet Betty, and they got to know her issues and things she's struggling with and her concerns. And we met a lady the other day in a trailer park here in town that hadn't had anyone visit her in 18 years.
Wow.
And I mean, so this story, I could go on for hours. I mean, literally. Yeah. I mean, there are people that are just waiting for people to come to their door and to love them.
Yeah.
And so I think that church leaders, you just got to go. You got to take the first step. And obviously, I'm a big advocate for the grill, but we've used a lot of different things. But at the end of the day, when you're out there and you're showing compassion and sympathy, it will melt the hardest of hearts, and you will be blown away by how many people have just been waiting for you to show up.
Yeah.
Well, of course it's about the gospel, but you kind of, it's to meeting a physical need and also just having a human connection. First.
Right.
And then where that can go is really, really cool. But it's not just knocking on a door and do you know Jesus? It's what's your name? How are you doing?
Yeah, absolutely.
What's going on? Like, I'm so-and-so. I live in this community.
Right.
And just building relationship that people are desperately hungry for.
Absolutely. And consistency, you know, sometimes as we've knocked in our own community, you know, it's not just the one time a year event, right? That isn't going to work. That thing, that's a failed system. But, you know, when I go back the second time or the third time, people finally start to see, okay, this guy actually genuinely cares.
Yeah.
And I think as churches come together and we tackle communities working together, people are going to see the church actually cares.
Yeah.
That's such a good point about, again, not that missions trips are bad or wrong, but that one time thing, you're not fixing anything. You show up and then you're gone. That person's real struggles are still there when you go back to your comfortable spot. Consistency. Do you guys have a model? Do you have a schedule? Do you have certain neighborhoods that you just go back to over and over?
Yeah, so, you know, in our local community, we have neighborhoods that we're consistently working in, and we're constantly bringing churches in to Enid. We have a mission, we can house missionary teams. So we have missionaries that come down and live, or churches that come down and live with us for a week, and we're constantly re-engaging. Our biggest struggle that we face, though, is, you know, the churches they have to be ready and willing to now receive those people back into the congregation. So, you know, for some churches, they're going to have to change a few things because there's a barrier there that's been created. But churches that are willing to accept, because you got problems, you got addictions, you got people that got real struggles and trauma that you're going to have to work through. It's called discipleship. Yeah. And you're going to have to work through that. And, you know, that's where it gets messy and it's hard. And so, you know, I think sometimes it's easier just to stay with kind of our group of people and not disrupt that. Well, I think Jesus may want to disrupt some things and bring some people in.
Get a little uncomfortable, get a little messy.
Yeah, but it's interesting because I think about like Jesus and the woman at the well, right? Oh, yeah. Like there is that's sort of a model of everything you're talking about. Jesus went, right? Like there was they didn't have to go through Samaria. Right. It was kind of out of the way. So like Jesus was kind of intentional where he went. But then there was also connection and relationship and conversation and everything we've been talking about. Before there was sort of a call to repentance, a call to following Jesus.
Absolutely.
But what I know that I've been a part of ministry. I've executed events. It was like, hey, we're going to do a summer block party. Right. We'll do it again next summer. And, and again, for some, that might be the first step that they take. Right. But I do think, that having that intention around, we're doing this not so that we get the 125 salvations in which 90% come to our church, and now we have people in the seats, but we're and if that happens, awesome, and I think God's going to work through that. But we're doing this because we're called to go and to meet those needs, and then to see how God works in the midst of that. I think that's a really good. Just good reminder for people. But you're right, that's a shift in mentality. It really is. And that's different. So as you've worked with churches, how have you kind of helped them to maybe get over some of those barriers that might be there and making that shift? You know,
I think, again, the complicated, right? We've overcomplicated this. I mean, if we go back to the simple gospel, it's like, well, what did Jesus do? Well, Jesus went out and he had compassion and sympathy on the crowds, right? So again, he's the example. He's what we're striving to be like and what we should be following. So what did Jesus do? Well, he just went out and he loved people. Yeah. And so I think when we think about the grace of God and we think about what that means in our own life and who we were before Christ and now who we are now that we know Christ, right? It's because of grace. It's something we didn't deserve. It's something we didn't earn. It was given to us because of his love.
Yeah.
And so now that I understand that, that's what compels me to love others. And I think if I tried to write out a formula or tried to challenge, it's like, just go back to loving Jesus.
Yeah.
If you love Jesus, then you have everything you need to do missions or to serve your community or to serve hamburgers. It's like, that's what's the driving force behind what everything I do. It's like, I remember, dude, I was a wretched, wicked dude. And Jesus stepped in my life and he wrecked it.
Yeah.
You know, and he humbled me, and man, he rescued me, he redeemed me. And now because of that, I am overwhelmed with thankfulness.
Yeah.
And because of that thankfulness, I say, Abba, Father, send me. What do you want me to do? And as I follow him, he leads me out to these places. And so I think as pastors are thinking about this, just spend time praying, spend time remembering. And when the Father moves you, you're going to know what to do.
Yeah.
And that's the only thing I know, because that's what keeps me going. Because at the end of the day, if I was just doing projects or grills, man, it would become repetitious and I'd burn out, right?
Sure. Yeah.
But it comes from something that lives inside of me. And so, you know, pastors that I think God is stirring them up right now because of what's going on in our world.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing pastors are starting to think different, talk different, and they know that we have to shift. Mm-hmm. And so I think as they start to pray and think about what that is, you know, just go out and meet a few people. Yeah. Just go out and meet a few people and just say, what can we do better to serve you and to show you that Jesus hasn't forgotten you?
Yeah.
And I think when you hear them tell you, well, then what are you going to do when you hear it? You
Yeah.
know? And so you're going to hear the needs, then figure out a way to meet the needs.
Yep.
So I don't know, man. It's been a trip.
Awesome. That's awesome.
It's crazy.
Well, no, I think it's really cool too to see ministries have fruit based off of, I don't want to say simple beginnings, but answering a simple call.
Right.
So it's not like you had what it is today written on a whiteboard, and you're
oh
like,
my gosh,
here we go.
I took off running. Literally, I ran away.
Yeah, I'm out of here.
I'm out of here.
That's too much.
Give me a hamburger on the way.
Yeah.
You know, but it's just a simple yes, right? A yes to Jesus, to where he's leading. We're going to do this, and we're going to go.
Right.
And I think that's a really good example.
Yeah, in a lot of ways, I tell my team jokingly all the time, I was like, I'm really good with just having the grill and being, that's it, you know? But I think sometimes as we're faithful, God starts to expand and he extends. And and I kind of have grown up with the model, like if I see it, I just can't walk away from it.
Yeah.
And so that's got me into trouble and it keeps us busy. But, you know, I mean, again, I can't be the guy that walks around that person I see in suffering.
Yeah.
And when I've seen that couple that were willing to take their time to love that guy, I literally felt like I seen Jesus doing that. And that was the model I wanted to live by. So
I like that you said too, that get ready for when that need that you met starts pouring into your church and they bring their problems with them.
Oh yeah.
But my mind kind of went to the over-engineering, right? Like I'm really good at over-engineering. So I'm like, oh gosh, well when they come, do I have the systems? Do I have the programs? Do I have the resources?
Right.
And I'm listening to you talk going like, just stop.
Right.
Just be obedient, go.
Right.
And then as people come, I don't have to be fully ready.
Right.
I just have to be emotionally ready to receive that. And then I know like God will prepare the systems and the programs and bring the right people who go, hey, I can do that. Hey, I can do that. But mentally ready and emotionally ready to receive is way different than being practically ready.
Right. Well, and it's going to get people off the sidelines and in the game.
That's right.
I mean, we have all these people sitting in the pews that are sitting on the sidelines, and I'm like, dude, get in the game.
Yeah.
Like, we got to get out.
Like, I don't know what you need. I don't know the place to fill.
I know. So bring more people in and let them disciple, let them pour into them, let them go out and take them to coffee. I mean, we have so many people in the church that if they would mobilize, oh my gosh, this world could change instantly.
Totally.
It really could.
Yeah.
And so, you know, the Bible says that we're created with a purpose. There's a purpose in which why you're still alive. There's a reason you still have breath in your lungs, and it's to glorify him. It's to expand his kingdom. It's to be an ambassador for Jesus. And that's the whole body. The whole body's meant to be an ambassador. So yeah, some of us are going, and as some of them are coming, we'll now start discipling them and loving them and teaching them how to be moms and how to be husbands. And I mean, there's all those things that come a part of it, but we have a sleeping church that needs to wake up because we have an army of people that can battle the things that we see going on.
Yeah.
And so
speaking of your army, I don't want to put her on the spot, but your 18-year-old daughter now is involved in your ministry.
Yes.
got to speak with her yesterday, and she said, this is not where I thought that I would be. I thought I'd be off at college. I didn't think I'd be a missionary.
You're right.
Can you tell, how has your world just changed in a way that you did not see coming?
So me and my wife, we have adopted 5 kids. And so all of our kids came from pretty traumatic situations. And my oldest one, Ange, has 18. She came when she's about 9. And she was through a whole lot of things with a tornado that she lost a lot of her family, and a lot of things happened. But when she came in, it was just a godsend from the beginning, right? But she was trying to figure out, again, what's the difference in religion and a relationship with Jesus? And I remember it was one day at one point that she just broke. And there was this, Jesus came to her, and all those pains and trauma and the things that she'd been through, there was healing. Yeah. She finally found healing in her Father. And it wasn't me, it was Jesus, right? And as she kindled that, it was insane how her vision, her mind, her desires started to change. And of course, I was like, come on. Mama wants to college. I'm like, full blown, go missionary. Come on, live it. Right. I'm just crazy though, but that's all right. But I constantly was cheerleading from the back and just saying, you can't, if you want, God will equip you and He'll give you what you need to do the mission that He has. And man, when she got it, she's all in it. And I'm telling you, man, she takes a burger to a door, dude, she will flat out lay the gospel out, and she'll pray for it. And so anyways, it's one of your greatest joys to see your kids fall in love with Jesus, right? Yeah. And I think so many parents and maybe even pastors miss the opportunity to allow their kids to engage in that, and so, we're good at teaching them sports. I mean, as a sports junkie, and we're good at taking them to all these things at school, but no, I mean, from the age they're born, we need to engage them in missions. Yeah. That's not a youth pastor or a missions pastor's job. That's a body's job. Yep. And we need to make them understand, no, this is part of your life as a believer. You can be the hands and feet of Jesus. And I believe if we start training our kids up in that, well then, man, God, we're equipping the next generation to take over and fight the battle. Yeah. So
I love it. Well, one thing that we ask everybody that we have on the podcast, because the goal of these is conversations to help empower healthy churches. There's a lot of things that make up a healthy church. So we always like to hear from people. Again, there's a lot of components, but what's one essential component that you'd say is necessary for a healthy church?
Well, I mean, the one that came just to my mind is to love the Lord with all your heart, mind, and soul, period. I mean, that's it, dude. When you come back to your first love, and we love the way the disciples loved Jesus, I mean, that we'd have to go back to Acts to read that. Sure. But when we're willing, as the Bible says, to offer your body as a living sacrifice, then everything will change. Yeah. And we have to be willing to lay our life down for those that are in need. And so I think pastors are going to have to break the mold a little bit, and they're going to have to come back to that. And so the things that we grew up in, tradition, some of those traditions and some of those religions that we've grown up in, it's going to have to dissipate. It's got to disappear. Now, that's going to be difficult, but it was difficult for the Pharisees, right? Sure. I mean, they had a system and they had this mold in place that Jesus was like, okay, I want to throw that all away and start over. Yeah. Now, I'm not saying we have to throw it all away, but I'm saying that we may need to challenge ourselves, that there are some pretty radical steps that we may need to take in order for us to start laying our lives down as a living sacrifice. And, when churches start doing that, man, dude, it's going to be magical. It's going to be awesome, dude.
It's awesome. So, well, we do close usually with something we call the final 5. Yeah. Super rapid fire, real quick. All right. Okay. So we got those. First one is this. What's one book you'd recommend to church leaders?
Bible. Definitely. The Bible, baby. Perfect. Come on.
It was a test.
Check.
Check. Awesome. We'll make sure to put a link in the show notes for those who haven't heard of. No.
That would be funny.
Yeah.
That's... Anyways, go ahead.
All right.
I can't remember the order, but what is the last thing that you've listened to? You have to be really honest, like music, podcast, but... Maybe
last
like a
thing,
guilty
Lord
pleasure.
of the Rings.
Okay.
Yeah. Movie. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I don't know.
That
Does
works.
that count?
That counts. Yeah. All right.
That's fine. That works.
That counts. I'm sure we have some fans of that.
Right. There we go. Come on. Yeah. I'm a big Lord of the Rings junkie.
Yeah.
Okay.
What's your favorite piece of technology? Can't say your phone, though.
Oh, my gosh. Horse and buggage?
Sure. That's technology.
I mean, that was technology at one point. Yeah.
No. Oh, man. Oh, my goodness. Not phone.
Once you take that, it's so hard.
That is a hard one. I don't even know if I can know. Okay, so I'm still old generation. And if she could chime in right now, she'd be like, he probably doesn't even know what technology is. Like I'm old school big time.
Okay.
But I love, like even just meeting you guys on learning how to do, receipts and books and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So my daughter's a godsend for that.
Yeah.
She understands that world.
All right. Yeah.
If anybody watched the Healthy Church Summit recap where you said accounting was your favorite part.
I know.
We had a whole conversation about accounting yesterday.
Yes.
So
See, the accounting fans come from the least likely places.
Right.
So
from Skid Row to accounting.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's
Yeah.
somewhere
Right?
in between there.
yeah.
All right, Jeremy, what is one word of advice or piece of wisdom or quote that has just stuck with you throughout the years?
One piece of advice or quote. I remember, I'll use one for marriage. I mean, there's a lot for ministry, just enduring, persevering, things like that. But I remember when I was meeting with a friend of mine, and I was talking to him about Sarah, this is my wife, and not knowing if she was like, am I supposed to marry this girl? I mean, I had tons of girlfriends pre-Jesus, but I had no clue what it meant to have a biblical marriage. I had no clue. And he says, you know what? You just need to keep on following the Lord, and you just need to faithfully follow him as you're holding his hand, and you're just walking step by step with him. He says, someday you're going to look to your left and you're going to see that woman holding your hand. And he says, and that's when you'll know that's the girl you're supposed to be with. And that's really how it was. I had kind of forgotten about her in a sense, and just started serving Jesus.
Yeah.
And in the midst of going to Skid Row and serving down there, I looked over one day and we were holding hands, and that was it, man.
That's awesome.
So, I tell that with all my team. They're at that age of dating and wanting to find. And I'm like, man, just keep on going and God will send the right person.
Love it.
So,
all right.
Sarah.
Last one. What is one thing you'd like to communicate to our audience of church leaders?
Oh, man. Golly, dude. If you could see the things that I see, and what I mean by that is, from Skid Row to Taking the Grill to hundreds, if not thousands of communities, and peeling back the layers of what's really going on. I mean, Satan is working in shadows, and there is things going on that would blow most people's minds. And we are at a place in our culture and our history that it is about to get really bad. And the church has got to wake up. They have got to wake up, and they have got to see that.
Yeah.
And they have got to take the fight to the front lines. And we can't be idle no more. We can't be complacent. We have got to be aggressive with sharing the gospel of Jesus Christ. And that doesn't necessarily mean going out there with the Bible and beating. That's not what I'm talking about. Going out there. We've got to take the church and go love people where they're at.
Aggressive in love.
And love.
Serving
and I just, there's a remnant of churches I've started to work with that are getting it, but there's a lot of churches, I got to share with a church the other day. They can fit over 350 people in their congregation, and they're only running 10 people every Sunday. That church is going to die unless something radically changes.
Yeah.
And, we could change things now, but my hope is that we don't have to wait until our church is almost dead for that to change.
That's right.
So I challenge pastors, man, just go out and see what's really going on and really come back to that first love of mobilizing your church. You got to get them out there, and you got to get them being the hands and feet of Jesus.
That's awesome. Well, can you give people just a little bit, direct them where to go if they want to learn more about your ministry, connect with you guys?
So they can go to forgottenministries.com.
Cool.
And that's our main website. Obviously, we do we do lives on Facebook. Well, my daughter helps me navigate through that, obviously. We do Facebook lives on different things we're doing. And then the Tailgate Grill, you can go to the main website, but that will direct you to a website that's going to have all the tailgate stuff on where they can buy a tailgate grill. They can buy a teaching series and a workbook that helps them to go out and learn how to do those things with the grill.
We didn't go into that at all. Around the corner, you guys have your grill, and you show people where they can get their own. They can literally how to mobilize.
Totally.
Not just come to you, but they can replicate that, and you make that really easy for them to do that.
It's a sweet setup. The grill that we have is really awesome. That we had a manufacturing make for this outreach. Cool. And so it's pretty cool, man. I mean, we love to kind of stay on top of those things.
So overwhelm them with tailgate orders.
Come on, bring it, baby. Let's go.
Let's create a good, bad supply and demand problem. I like it.
Yeah. Well, so appreciate not only what you're doing, the ministry you're doing, but also the example that you're setting in. I think the path that you're forging as well for.
Thank you.
I've had a few conversations myself in the last few weeks of people just saying what has been is probably not what will be, you know? And so there's some new ways of looking at what it means to be a church, what it means to be on the mission of Jesus. Right. So you guys are doing that, and so I appreciate that very much, and appreciate your time sharing.
Yeah, thank you
with
guys.
Our audience, with church leaders, and so we'd love if you enjoyed. Oh, go ahead.
No, I'm just glad I dressed up for the occasion today.
Oh yeah, absolutely. No, listen, we're relaxed here at the Church Leadership Lab. Yeah, absolutely.
I like to put people on the spot, like you right now. Let's go.
Right. Plus, since you're a volleyball player, I feel like it's like then you have that like built-in like permission to
totally.
Be like, you may have just come from the beach playing volleyball. You know what I mean?
I wish I was still. It's a little older now.
Yeah.
It's a little harder.
Right? Yeah. Awesome, man. Well, hey, we appreciate you listening, watching. We'd ask that you like, subscribe, maybe share this with somebody, a church leader who might benefit from this conversation. It's our goal to empower healthy churches, so we hope that this helped with that, and we'll see you next time.
This episode of the Church Leadership Lab podcast is brought to you by Ministry Brands, the largest provider of church technology software. Over 90,000 churches rely on Ministry Brands for their single platform solution that brings together all the digital tools a church needs. From online giving to websites to church management software and more, Ministry Brands is leading the way in simple to use, innovative solutions, all with the goal of empowering healthy churches. To learn more, visit ministrybrands.com.